Hello, welcome to Now Tell Us. At Now Tell Us is where we have guests come and tell us stories. They come and educate us. They come and inspire us. They come and we have a good time here. And always we've been having great guests. And that means even today we have a great guest. Her name is Carole Sluski. She will be here. She's going to tell us about the pain of losing a child. I'm looking forward to hear what it is and how to go about it. And I won't take one more minute. But before I go, let me remind you that if you want to see the past episodes of this podcast or future episodes, you can always go to nowtellus.com or go to Podmatch, where we are currently ranking number 2. We've climbed up, and that's a good news for the new year. Thank you to you. Thank you to all our guests. And now, without taking one more minute, we are going to go together with you to meet our guest today, Carole Sluski. Here we go. Hello, Carole.
Hello, Anthony.
How are you?
I'm fine, and I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart that you invited me on.
You're most welcome. I appreciate you. I'm grateful that you took your time to come and be with us on this episode. Now,
Yes.
let's get started by knowing where in the world you are and what time is it? How's the weather?
Well, I'm in beautiful Naples, Florida. I moved here a year and a half ago, and the time right now is 12 o'clock noon Eastern Standard Time, and it's paradise. And I am a survivor of the hurricane, the last hurricane. I was here. I didn't leave. I
Oh,
stayed here. My husband and I stayed here. Our grandchildren were with us, and we lived through it. And thank God, it was like for us in the area that I was in with our house in this area, it was like a big umbrella that was over our whole community. The only damage that we got was a few trees, but my heart went out to the people who lost. Oh, there's some people who lost everything.
mm-hmm.
And you know, and we saw boats in the street. I mean, standing up, straight up on houses. Can you believe that?
Whoa.
It was like unbelievable. But luckily, we didn't lose too many people. But that's probably what got to me was how many people lost so much. And you know, the worst thing is if they lost any loved ones. But I just thank God that we made it through.
Mm. Oh, thank God that you made it through. And you're looking beautiful. And you have a
Oh,
beautiful area, background behind you. No. What?
I'm an artist like
What?
you. I'm an artist like Anthony. I checked Anthony out, and I think he's pretty good. Beautiful animals, beautiful, detailed, exquisite. You should get your
Well,
art over here.
thank you.
We've got some really good uh, art galleries on Fifth Avenue in Naples,
Mm-hmm.
and your work is good enough to be in there.
Wow. Thank you. I'm humbled.
Um, you deserve it.
Yeah. You have, and I just saw now looking at your art, I'm seeing a bird that I think is going to be important to this that we are talking today. We are going to bring it in somehow, and I don't know whether it has a relation. Oh, I guess it has a relationship with the book that you've written. So we're gonna find that as we are moving on. Eagle. Do you just paint eagles or you paint other animals? And how is it that you chose an
Yeah,
eagle to be as
I'm
your?
really, I'm really pretty versatile on my art. I like landscapes. Here, I wanted to paint, when I moved here to Naples, my goal is to paint seascapes, the
Mhm.
ocean. And I poured, you know about that, pouring the liquid paint. I used to mix my own paint, did a lot of pouring. The only thing is I ruined, I ruined the room that I was doing this in, a very messy.
Mhm.
So I took a sabbatical, as I mentioned to you earlier, for a year and a half to write a book.
Mm.
And so I didn't want to have two masters. I'm the type of person that when I commit myself, I commit it to one thing. And I felt that I had to let my art go for a while and concentrate on this book.
Oh, yes, you've written a book, and the book is known as 30. Oh, yeah, it has an eagle on it.
There's the eagle right back. The original is behind me.
Oh, okay, that's beautiful. So 30, a mother's spiritual journey after losing her child. That's the book you've been writing. It's a beautiful
Yes.
one. It's a beautiful one. Now, uh, you took time off to write this book, telling us about that pain that you went through. And you started telling us about the hurricane that destroyed a lot of property, and then definitely somewhere it took lives. And not only that, all over the world, we have issues, we have things going on, challenges. And at some point, at one time or the other, we lose our loved ones. If that be a child, it's painful. Be it a sister, a brother, or a mother, a father, it's still painful, very painful. And it's important when we are having these conversations with someone who's been through something, coming back, speaking about it, and maybe helping someone out there who's undergoing some challenge, who's lost a loved one. And now, what prompted you? Let me ask you this question. What prompted you to write the book? And yeah.
Okay, I think for probably the last 10 years, I've been getting feelings that I wanted to write the book. I wanted to pass on what what I learned and how I'm surviving. I
Mm-hmm.
My daughter died 30 years ago. Um, we're going on the 31st year now. There'll be March 19th, 2023. It'll be 31 years. And that's a long time. That's a real long time. And
Mm-hmm.
during that period of time, I went through stages, and I wanted to share that with people, mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers, whatever. My book is based on my experience losing my daughter, a child. So
Mm-hmm.
that's where I concentrate on. But the people that have already read it have gotten back to me and said, you know what, Carole, I could relate to this with my mother, my father dying, my husband, my wife. I have a sister that I lost. So they're relating what I wrote to others, not just a child. But with my book, I want to be real fair to the audience. I want to tell you it's really concentrated on my relationship with God, um, how how a death of my daughter changed me and made me a better person. And I had no idea that was going to happen or how it was going to turn me. But it took years of getting through a lot of grief that I walked the steps that I was led by the Holy Spirit, uh, Jesus, Blessed Virgin Mary. She became my mentor. I explained how that happened and when it happened. I got the whole thing pinpointed in my heart and in my mind as to when I received a message from up above. I, I'll help you to get through this.
Mm. How old was your daughter when she died?
She was 24 years old.
Mm.
And when she was born, I had a premature placenta separation, and she was born at 7 months. She almost died at 7 months. And then at 20 months old, she got a severe bladder and kidney problem, and she almost died then. And she had her last rites with the Christian Church, the Catholic Church. She had the last rite when she was 20 months old. But God was good to me. She lived, and I had her for an additional 22 years. And I thank God for that time, that extra time, because I could have lost her. You know, at least I got to know, and she grew with me. And
Mm.
just grew up as a young adult.
Mm.
So, but it was tragic losing somebody. When you lose a child, there is no age that is good or bad. It doesn't matter. I mean, I know moms like me that have lost daughters that are 50. I have my other daughters that are up, well, I better say middle 60s. You might watch this.
Mhm.
I think she's about 56, 57.
Wow.
So, yeah,
How old are you?
I'm 70. I was just 78. 78.
Wow. Wow. You
But
don't look.
but I'm a bionic woman. I had a lot of surgeries, and I blame that on my grief factor. I think when you have a broken heart, and whether you're, male or female, when you have that broken heart, everybody thinks that you're great. You know, she was gone, say a year later, and everyone expected me to move on, be be normal, be happy. It doesn't work like that.
Mm.
When you love someone and they die, it really takes a lot of praying and a lot of grief that you go through. And it's like stepping stones that I went through, one step at a time. You take a few steps, you go forward, you have moments of joy and happiness. Then all of a sudden reality hits you again that you don't have that loved one with you, and you go back. So it's up and back and forth. I write about that. Um, I write about how I got through like the different phases, and there were phases for me. When I became a grandmother, years after Paula died, um, that was oh my gosh, those little babies got me out of the pit. I had something to live for. And I think I write a lot about that, about, you know, that God's not going to do everything for you. You got to do it for yourself. But He tells you, He leads you. Like, I really believe that the Holy Spirit came into me and would give me messages like, Carole, don't feel so sorry for yourself. Get out there and start painting again. Get those brushes out and paint. And I was working full time, and but that's what I did. I started painting again part time. And I wound leaving and doing something productive, which made
Mm.
me happy. So you start getting used to that. You want more of it. And then you realize this is a good road to be on.
Mm. Yeah, we have one of our viewers who's here, and he's just surprised. His name is Peter Karanja, and he's
Oh,
surprised that
Peter.
you don't even look 70, not even 70.
Well, I'm getting younger now too in Florida here, and the weather is so beautiful. Um, like I tell everyone, beauty and everything has a sacrifice. That was the hurricane. We live in it's just magnificent every day with the sun, but you have to expect you're not going to get everything perfect all the time. So
Mm.
now I know every season I got to worry about another hurricane. So, and stock up with food and all that other stuff. But that's okay. I think it's worth it.
Uh, Now, at 78, and before I even go deeper into the book, At 78, rather, let's go back 1 year back. That's when you wrote your book. That's at 77.
Thanks a
That's
lot.
when you were writing. So you wrote your first book at 77. And I have written, myself, I'm a writer. And I just want to hear of your experience. How was it writing this book?
Well, how was it? Well, first of all, being the age that I was at 77, I started the process of aging, you know, and I'll talk about the mental part of it. Um, there were things that I forgot and I couldn't remember. I wanted to go all the way, I had to go all the way back. I went
Mhm.
all the way back and describe briefly when she was born, when Paula was born, when it was, um, you add 24 years plus a 30, that's a long time ago. So yes, there are a lot of things I forgot. One of my illnesses I got during that 30-year period, I got MS. And what happened there was I had some signs of uh, lost memory due to the MS, the scar tissue.
Mhm.
So what happened? A miracle happened to me, to myself, as far as I believe, that my memory started opening up. And I would come upstairs here where I'm at in my little office, and I would sit at the computer and I would start typing. I'm a good typist too. And I would start writing from my heart. And sometimes I would write about a topic that I, it's a new topic that's for the book that just maybe was going to be put and placed at the end of the book. But at that moment, I didn't care. I wanted to type what I felt.
Mhm.
So I would get on and I would just type, type, type. And I would cry. I cried many times. I just cried. And I cried over God. I cried over Jesus. I felt myself just seeing and feeling emotion that I didn't even realize I had. I had no idea that I was that spiritual until I wrote the book,
Mhm.
because that's when it all came out. It just came out. And then the next day I would come back upstairs and I would read what I wrote. There were times that I said, did I write that? You're a writer. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know. I have that experience. I've had, when I made my draft and I presented it to someone, I am hearing him reading it to me, and I'm like, is that my manuscript? So I get
You know,
you.
Anthony, you and I have something in common. We're both artists. And now I could call myself an author. We're both authors.
Hmm.
So it's like one goes, they're hand in hand of the type of, we have that creative ability inside of us to get it out. But see, now I just had a memory loss because I was going somewhere with this and I forgot where. So what were we talking about
Yeah,
there? I am 78.
yes, we understand. And you are doing good, pretty good at 78. And we thank you for taking your time and putting down this story of your daughter. You are driving us in the process of how you wrote your book. That's why you are driving. You talked about you write something and then come back to it, and you're like, no, this is not me. This is not true. I didn't write this.
Because it was so beautiful. It was
Yeah.
just like, wow, where did that come from? I even did poetry in my
Hmm.
book, along in between the paragraphs of explaining, the process of my healing. And that just, you know, it's amazing. It's just amazing that I did this. That's all I could tell you. It
Yes.
makes me happy that I want to share it. I want to share it with the world. I want to make people believe that they can get through this terrible thing.
Hmm.
When someone dies, they're no longer here anymore. They're gone off the face of the earth. They don't exist here. You could travel all over the world, but you're never going to find them. You're never going to see them again.
Hmm.
That's where faith comes in. That's where you need God. You need that. And that's where if you open up your heart and you let those feelings come in, you are gonna feel better. You're gonna believe.
Mm-hmm.
Because my dad used to say that when we were little girls, I have two sisters. My one sister did pass away last year, but
Sorry.
yeah, she this is amazing. She's in the book too because she was my close. She just helped me get through a lot. She's
Mm-hmm.
she's gone here, but I believe she's in heaven. And it's just, you know, I want to share and I want to let other people know, please, please don't give up. Don't get, and if you get sick, you'll get well again. You know, I accepted getting sick and I did what I was supposed to do to get well and I got through.
Mm-hmm.
And your audience wouldn't believe what I've been through. I had 4 back operations. I just past year, I had my cervical. I had 4 vertebrae, literally not replaced, but cleaned and parts put in. So I went through that. I had MS, fibromyalgia. Then on top of it, I got cardiomyopathy, heart disease, and my doctor said, well, we don't know why you got this, but it could be from a virus. And I said, what about a broken heart? Because there is that broken heart syndrome. And he said, well, we can't rule that out, Carole. It could be. So I got cardiomyopathy. I do have a little defibrillator in me to help
Mm.
my heart. Went through all that. I'm alive. I'm living. I made it.
Wow.
I made it to be here, to meet you, Anthony.
Wow. Glory to God. We thank God for keeping you this strong, keeping you still with a big smile on your face
Yeah.
after all that you've been through. And you come back here to give hope to someone who's listening or
Yeah.
watching us. And actually, the audience are very glad that they are hearing this story. We have Jane who is saying this is powerful. She's liked the story so far. And I
Oh,
asked,
here's all the messages. Yeah. I'm so busy I wasn't reading them. Well, thank you, Jane.
yeah, yeah, they
I
are.
gotta tell, you know what I have to tell Jane, I have to tell, God up there, you'll start letting me look older because I'm getting too many people. Say, what's your secret? Especially down here in Naples, there's a lot of, we are seniors here. So
Hmm.
I like it. She looks 50. Wow. My daughter will not like that, Peter. That's my daughter. That's, I have 2 daughters. One's up there in heaven, and Jill, she lives here in Naples too. That's why I'm here. I moved here because I had to be close to my family, had to be close to my daughter, my son-in-law, and my 2 granddaughters. When they moved here, I said, we got to go, you know.
Mhm. Yes, Jen says, yeah, you look so young. She's thankful and she says,
I'm reading these messages.
yeah. So, all the audience out there, thank you very much. We really appreciate you taking your time and watching. If you have a question for Carole, you can always shoot it here. If you have a comment, yeah, we would like to hear your comments. We appreciate your time. We appreciate your feedback. So thank you very much. Thank you, Jen. Thank you, Peter, and everyone else who's watching there. And let's go back to the book. And you told us that she died, but we haven't gotten the reason. What happened? How did she die?
Well, Paula, it was a sudden death. I had no idea that what was going on within her body, but she died of a pulmonary embolism, which is a blood clot to her heart and her lungs, a blood clot in her lungs, and then of course that stopped her heart. Um, there's a story I write about the emergency room, how I got the notice of it, how I had to go through witnessing her on the machine that they had her on. The, the doctors they operated on her. She was already deceased as far as I was concerned. The first time I walked in the ICU room and saw my daughter, she had all this equipment on her and her eyes were half open. She had these big, beautiful blue eyes. and I could hardly see her eyes. They were dilated. The pump was pumping. Her chest was going up and down, up and down. I had to witness that for 48 hours. And I signed off on the equipment. I had to really pray to God on that one, because I had them stop using her, that equipment. To me, I didn't feel her soul. She was gone. She was like a vessel, an empty vessel. And that was the beginning of witnessing, the loss of her. So it was sudden. And I do, in the middle of the book, I wanted to stress this. Oh, I should have had that off. So sorry. I should have stressed in the middle of the book, chapter 3, I have a big, big section on my relationship with Mary, Blessed Virgin Mary, and me. And I almost took it out of the book because I thought, oh my gosh, I'm not a holy roller. Okay, I'm really not. I'm a believer, but I'm not a fanatic. And, I'm really, to be honest, I'm the type that when I go to the restaurant, I don't need to say a prayer at the table. I could say my prayer to myself. Thank God for food, because I could be private and keep it within me. So I'm not a holy roller. I'm not saying that people that do that are holy rollers, but I don't need to do that. I need prayer for me, from inside of me. And see, once again, Anthony, I lost my thought. Jane,
Okay. Come
I
back.
might look good, but I am losing my thoughts. That's
Yeah.
the age.
And we said that you're doing super good. I mean, you're doing super good. Now, Jen here discloses that she's gone through that and survived. She's gone through the Palmer and the whatever took your daughter. It's a hard one for me. But Jen has had it and survived. So, what would you say to Jen?
She's had what? Jane?
Can you pronounce whatever took your daughter?
Oh, pulmonary embolism.
Pulmonary
Pulmonary.
embolism.
Yes, pulmonary embolism. You could
She
look
wrote,
that up.
she wrote it in short. It's PE.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, talk to her. Pulmonary embolism.
Yes, that's it. Okay,
Yeah.
Jane, you got it. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
There are exceptions with the pulmonary embolism. Some people do make it through. They'll be survived. They'll make it. With Paula, her blood clot was so enormous. I mean, when she went to the undertaker, which my husband knew who he was, and I'll give her like a friend, but told my husband, which he was not the father of Paula. And there's a big section on that too. The relationship, that's another big chapter, because it counts for your recovery. A lot of people get divorced when you lose a child. On the radio, I'm not going to say who said it, but on the radio out here, there was a study done, and they said that in women, especially within the first 10 years of their life, of the death of their child, they die. I believe that. Yes, I believe that. If I hadn't had my faith, I wouldn't be here. Without God, I would not be here. And now I remember what my dad said. My father told me when I was a little girl, you've got a choice, Carole. You could believe in God or not believe in God. You want to take a gamble, go ahead and take a gamble. Don't believe in him. But what do you have to live for? Because I believe, and I know, he said, that when I die, I go to heaven. As long as I'm a good boy, I'll go to heaven. And I always thought of that, always, always, always. And another thing, my dad sat in the back pew. He used to go to church every morning. And I don't do that, but he did that. But I sit in the back pew just like he did. And when he died, the priest said to him, he was coming in the casket, said to us, It's a family. Peter, what was his name? Peter, I've watched you every morning sitting in the back pew. He's, you are coming to the altar today. You have earned being up in front. You're here. So oh my gosh, I thought about that. And that's when I was writing, that's in my book. When I was writing about it, I started crying. And I said, Dad, you're right. Thank you. Thank you. And he was real strict too. I mean, I'm not going to say he was a perfect father. We had our outs, but boy, he gave me what I needed for my future. So there's just a lot. I have a lot in that book, I guess. Every time I say something, I'm just thinking. I'm not trying to say it's in the book, but it is. I mean, that's how I wrote.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why people should go and get the book. So Jane is saying that you are really strong. You are a strong lady.
Oh, thank you, Jane.
And
thank you.
Sure.
I'm going to say, you know what? I'm not going to say, Jane, you're wrong. I don't give up. I have a will. And that's when I thought I was getting sick, and I got this feeling inside of me that was the Holy Spirit. And he told me, start painting, do something to make yourself happy. Get the brushes out. That was my beginning. I started painting, and then I had a job. I was working. I started taking care of my customers. I was in sales, and I started, okay, Carole, you got to do this. You don't give everything up. Pull it together. And that is what I prayed for help. I said, okay, God, I don't need to pray for Paula anymore. She's up there. I need to pray for myself now. Tell me what to do. Give me a sign. I'll follow it. That's what I did.
Wow. Now, to everyone who's listening out there, who's watching us, what excuse do you have? What excuse do you have? Is it that you are not doing something with your life, that you are not starting a new career, that you are not starting to paint or starting to write, even when you've come through a tough time of losing? I mean, it's difficult. I've seen people go through them, and as difficult as it is, we have just got to accept the fact that at one point or the other, we are all going to leave this world. Some are going to leave earlier than us. So when people leave earlier than us, as Carole is saying, you got to accept that they've left, and then you're going to ask some strength to keep on moving yourself. Pray for yourself. Do something with yourself. And we love you sharing with us all this that you have shared with us.
When you're talking about that subject, all I can tell you is you've opened up another part of me to tell your viewers. It's just, you can't, as I said earlier, you can't give up. But you also have to give. You've got to give of yourself. And that's what I've done. I want to give my story to help. If I could help one person to survive and get through it and find happiness and joy. I mean, really be glad you're alive. I've made a point. I've accomplished. This is why I wrote the book. I don't believe I did this book. I mean, it's like it's just hard for me to believe that I wrote it, because I read my book every night. I do. Every night I got the book and I read it, a little chapter here and there. And I say, boy, yeah, Carole, that really is nice, But I also do that so I'm on top with the podcasters, because I don't want to forget. I don't want to forget what I wrote in this book. And sometimes that happens. Now, your viewers that are my age, they're going to understand what I'm talking about. They will. They'll understand.
Let's believe we have some viewers your age here. I mean, you're giving people hope here. And now, We have a question from Jane. She's asking about relationships in general after a big milestone in life. And I don't know exactly
Well,
what
Jane,
milestone.
yeah, what relationships are we talking about? Are we talking about a mother with another child in the family or a husband? Um,
Mm-hmm.
I'm reading some one
No,
that came in.
I'll leave that to you. Continue with Jane. I'll bring that
Yeah.
up.
Okay.
Mhm.
Could you please tell about? I need to know from Jane.
Yeah.
Jane, give me a little information about what relation everyone. Okay. Well, believe it or not, Jane, I got a chapter in the book on the subject of relationships because you got to stop and ask yourself, what is a relationship? There's good ones and bad ones. If you want a good relationship, what do you have to have more than anything else? You have to have contact with that person. You have to have time with that person. You have to have interaction with that person. I mean, you have to be presently together. If it's on the phone because you live far away, that's contact. But you can't carry on a relationship with no contact. I'm out here with elderly people. We were grandparents. We're mothers and fathers. Our kids are older. Some of us don't even hear from our children. There's a lot of people that don't call you. If you're a 50-year-old child, call your mom, call your dad. Just say, "I love you, mom. I love you, dad." That means something to us. So that's a relationship, that's contact. Husband and wife, another thing, contact. I write about why was my husband, Denny, he's in the book, why was he such a vital asset to me? He was because I'll tell you why. He wasn't the father of my child. So he was able to give me all of his time when I was crying. He wasn't crying himself. He only knew her for 6 months or 6 months to a year. I got that in the book, but I can't remember exactly how long. But he didn't know her long enough to grow that real love bond relationship of daughter, child, and father. So he was able to give to me. Now you take my first husband, Jim's in the book. If I was still married to Jim when my daughter died, we would both be suffering together. And I'll tell you something, that's what people got to know. If you've got a mate, if he's the real father or the mother, you've got to work together. When I've mentored a few women that lost their child. They've got other kids. I tell them, what's important? Take care of your family first. Your first, well, the first thing, you got the circle of life. First is God. Then you've got your husband, wife, but you've got to take care of that circle of people that are in your life. And of course, God is always the first one.
Yeah, Maya is talking something to that effect, that you've got to be connected to people who can lift you up, because when you're going through grief, it can drive you into a deep, dark hole.
It's
It's
called the
important.
pit.
Yeah.
Anthony, it's called the big black dark pit. I've
Yeah.
been there up and down. Sometimes I crawl myself up out of it. But what got me out of it, this is for your audience. It's my grandchildren, my other daughter. She was there for me. We supported each other. We had a super tight relationship because she had the time to give to me. Thank God she wasn't married. So, but then that's going back to that thing about relationship. Relationships. You could have a good one or a bad one. If you want to have a bad one, what you do is you stop connecting with that person because you won't have a relationship. It'll
Mm.
break, split. You want to have a good relationship? Say the words, "I love you." You don't have to see the person all the time, but let them know that you care, that you're thinking of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, relationships are good. Now, Maya has been through it. She's had an experience. She's lost. She went through a loss 11 years ago, and it's been difficult to come to terms with it. So she understands what you're saying, the story that you're sharing with us. And
Yeah.
she said every milestone bears a different kind of pain.
And our whole world, with what we're going through right now, all the crisis that we're seeing, our children dying and wars. There's a war in Ukraine and everything. All the people that are dying right now, there's nothing I can do but to pray. I do say the rosary. Like I said, I'm Catholic. I believe in the Blessed Virgin Mary. I have gotten to the point where the rosary has become my habit. It's a habit. If I don't say I never not say the rosary, because I plan on, if I know I'm going to go out for dinner with my husband and come home at 9 o'clock or so, which is late for us, I'll make sure I say the rosary before. But that is my spiritual part that's holding me together. Because the next day, if there's something bad that happens, I'm going to say to myself, it's okay, Carole. You said your rosary yesterday. What is the rosary? It's praying about the stations of the cross. It's praying about Jesus's life. And you get that going every day. That's going to add to your spirituality. That's going to add to your faith. You know, what I've learned, when I'm good to God, I want to be good to others. When I'm good to others, it brings me closer to God.
Yeah, to all the listeners, all the viewers, you've got to have faith in a higher being that is more stronger and more knowledgeable than you. That's God. Now, let's, as we come to the summary, we mentioned about the eagle. You have painted eagles, and that's what's in your book. Tell us about, why did you choose the eagle?
Well, behind me, you'll see the two eagles in the tree. That I did after Paula died. Within the first year, I painted that. I never thought about eagles really after that. It was just, I don't even know why. I just painted it. I saw it and I said, that's going to make a beautiful painting. Now, the other eagle, the one over there, yeah, over there, that one right there. On Facebook, here in Naples, we have a photographer that's done a lot of photography work on the wildlife. And he posted right here in Naples, Florida, he posted 8 pictures that he took with his camera. And this here eagle, that one in that position, they were all the same eagle. He took a picture, clicked as it was live coming in. That eagle was coming in for a landing. And I said, that's going to be the cover of my book. And in fact, could I read this real quick?
Oh yeah, sure.
Anthony, this is on my book. This is a poem I made up. Don't ask me where it came from, out of my head. I believe the Holy Spirit helped me with this. I visualized and look at the eagle as I read it. I visualized I was standing in the middle of a field, looking up into the baby blue sky. The clouds are fluffy like huge cotton balls spreading across as far as one can see. The sun's rays are glimmering, shining through and beyond the clouds, down to the earth as a faint rainbow starts to appear. Then, out of nowhere, comes this beautiful eagle with its wings spread wide, gliding down, and as it picks up Paula's soul and flies her up to heaven. Okay. I wrote the poem first, and then I painted it. But I had the eagle. The eagle came to me. And I wish I had the photographer's name offhand, because he's here in Naples. And I did contact him and asked him, do I have your permission to paint it? Because I want it for the cover of my book. And, but God will get me together with him again. I might do another cover. You never know. Now, I don't think I'm going to write another book, though.
You never know. You never know.
I don't know. I want to go back and paint.
It could prompt you. I mean, if the readers are going to request for a sequel to it, then you're gonna write it at some point. But we leave that to God. Now, this episode has been stretched courtesy of our special guest and courtesy of this audience that have been very engaging. We thank you for the time. We thank you for everything. And we are now coming to the end of this episode. Now, we ask you to go and get the book out there. The book is known as 30, A Mother's Spiritual Journey After Losing Her Child. The link is in the description of the video, so you can just click on it and go and order it from Amazon. And also
Right.
look for Carole and connect with her. She's a strong woman. You need to be connected to someone who is as strong as Carole for encouragement, guidance, support. Yeah. That's about it. Thank you very much, Carole. We really appreciate.
Okay, thank you, Anthony. You have a wonderful day.
Same. We wish you the best in everything. And once again, thank you for sharing the book. Thank you for sharing the story with us. And Maya is saying, thank you for sharing your story and allowing us to see your vulnerability. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you,
Thank
Maya.
you.
I hope I'm saying it right. Thank you, Jen. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, everyone. Even those who get to watch after we are through. We thank you for your time. And that's about it for today. I've been your host, Anthony Murore. This has been Now Tell Us, and our guest was Carole Sluski. Thank you very much, and bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Bye.